Best streaming service in terms of original content. So this one has actually been requested by, I think, 3 or 4 different people. And you guys wanted us because we're seeing a trend now where movie studios are getting less and less of the less and less portion of the market. And a lot of these streaming companies like Netflix, Amazon, and then the older ones like HBO and Showtime are making more and more original content. So the question is, if you had to just buy one streaming service, which one is the one to buy? So first, I'm merely going to list all of their high-rated shows, and then we're going to discuss which ones are better. So obviously we're going to start with the oldest, most original one, HBO. HBO has quite a list. I'm going to go through it quick. Sopranos, The Wire, Game of Thrones, Westworld, Deadwood, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Sex and the City, Veep, Rome, Recount, Too Big to Fail, Generation Kill, Band of Brothers, The Pacific, and Game Change. That's a pretty impressive list, and that starts with stuff from a long time ago and ends with stuff that's still coming out today. Then you have Netflix. Netflix has all of its Marvel shows, which includes Jessica Jones, Daredevil, and The Punisher. They have House of Cards, rest in peace, which was a good show, but has been canceled due to Kevin Spacey's behavior.
Why the fuck do you have to touch kids, you dink?
Stranger Things, Marco Polo, Mindhunter, Narcos, Orange is the New Black, Sense8, and the rebooted Arrested Development.
You forgot The Ranch.
What the fuck is The Ranch?
That's Ashton Kutcher's legacy.
Oh, okay.
Which was awesome till Danny Masterson also got in trouble.
So next up, Showtime, another one of the old guard. Penny Dreadful, Homeland, Dexter, Shameless, Nurse Jackie, Ray Donovan, Californication, Stargate, SG-1, The Borgias, The Tudors, and Weeds. Better than I would have thought Showtime's lineup was.
No, I haven't really thought of like anybody being like, fuck yeah, Showtime in like
but
maybe 30 years.
There are some big shows you hear about in common conversation there. For example, Dexter, I hear about all the time. The time.
Well, we'll get into it after. Continue.
Starz, Black Sails, Spartacus, Blood and Sand, Ash vs. Evil Dead, Da Vinci's Demons, Camelot. Good luck. Cinemax, Banshee. That's it. That's literally it as far as highly rated shows. Amazon Prime, Transparent, which won an Emmy. That's it. That's all that's rated above our criteria for Amazon Prime. Hulu, another award-winning show. The Handmaid's Tale. That's it. Thanks for coming. So as you can see, Starz, Cinemax, Amazon, and Hulu are good if you want to watch shows that air on major networks. If you're using these services to watch shows that other channels have, they might be good. But if you want original content, you're not going to pick any of those. You're out of here. I only mentioned you just for the sense of covering all the services. You're out of here. So it's really just against Showtime, Netflix, and HBO. Those are your big 3 who are consistently making original content. Where are you leaning right off the bat?
Well, right off the bat, like I feel like we've just muddied the waters with what you just ended with right there. Because the big thing is, like, especially when you're looking at Showtime and you're looking at HBO, that is not indicative of the change in the trend. Because Netflix obviously has started to push the boundaries with their original content with product that was made for streaming. Most of the titles that you've listed for HBO and Showtime were originally made for TV, and now they've added stream services to compete with Netflix, which was taking them to the woodshed.
Right. So they have adapted. But the main point,
they're adapting, but I'm saying, like, a lot of that stuff, like, we have yet to see the potential of these.
A big part of this, too, is merely trying to find what service is the best.
I mean,
so if you take all this other, like, evolution aside, what's the streaming service? If you had to buy one of these, which one are you buying for original content?
Right now, I would say Netflix.
Really? That's very shocks me that you chose Netflix.
What gets me is they're developing quality shows.
Some of them are quality.
Some of them are quality. they're producing more content than anyone else.
That's probably true.
They are producing some low end, some high end. They're working out unique deals with like the Adam Sandler. You know, he's doing like 6 movies.
Thank
for him.
God they got Adam Sandler.
But that's a bridge to a new way of doing business that leads to a lot of potential.
Yeah, and we are seeing big movie stars choose to do Netflix projects. We just saw Will Smith do Bright for Netflix rather than a studio movie.
And that's the thing is, even like when you look at what Netflix is doing with stand-up comedians, they have been signing for probably the last 10 years a growing amount of comedians to do stand-up specials.
So,
and the way that they're generating this product is so unique and new, and they're so ahead of the curve that like even Amazon is about to dump tons of money to play catch up.
Amazon just bought a huge deal from Lord of the Rings, so they can do a Lord of the Rings show. But I'm going to counter that by saying Netflix is not as unique as people think. The comedian stand-up HBO has been doing for decades. They have been doing specials and booking comedians for decades.
Oh, they have.
HBO has also made its own movies for a long time. HBO simply markets them in a different manner. Too Big to Fail, Recount, and Game Changer are all movies. Single movies with big movie stars. Kevin Spacey was in Recount. Big movie stars are doing these. And they've been doing that for decades as well. There's a lot of standalone HBO movies. They're just not marketed the same way. HBO likes to market it within HBO as a subscription. Netflix likes to throw it out and try to get people. Like, you'll see commercials for Bright just on regular TV. Very rarely see that for HBO. HBO absolutely demolishes Netflix for original shows. Netflix is very hit or miss. House of Cards is great. Stranger Things is great.
Well, it was great.
Right. That's Mindhunter, I think, could be great, but it's only had 1 season. That's about it. I don't consider any other shows on Netflix to be top tier. Sopranos, Wire, Game of Thrones, Westworld, Deadwood, all of those are amazing top tier shows.
But you gotta think, they're turning out one of those shows maybe every 5 to 6 years.
Because they want to make quality. Netflix wants to throw a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, but we're talking about what you're gonna, if you're only gonna have one. You can't watch the same show for 5 years and do nothing.
You're right about that. Netflix is putting out more, but HBO's catalog is far deeper. HBO's been around far longer, so if you go back and you watch shows that were made 5-6 years ago, then you have plenty of content on HBO. I'd argue probably still more original content on HBO than Netflix does.
I mean,
so,
I can agree
just
with
to be clear, we're throwing Showtime out at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a lower HBO. Like, let's be honest.
The problem with Showtime is a lot of those shows were great.
So this video should just be Netflix versus HBO, and we sort of considered everyone else who sucks.
Well, the problem with Showtime is, like, most of those shows are done, the good ones. And when you look at them,
that's a good point.
Most of those shows aired on Showtime. A small group of people saw them.
Yeah.
They left Showtime.
And now they're on Hulu and shit.
And that's when people are like, oh, this is good.
Yeah,
because
you're right.
Nobody gives a shit what Showtime is doing 90% of the time.
So despite HBO having a deeper catalog than Netflix,
I would say a higher quality, not necessarily deeper.
Okay. You're still leaning towards Netflix.
Especially, it's just like the way things are going and how things are changing so rapidly. Like, even like I said, just the unique deals that they're doing with actors and production companies. I feel like this is leading up to something.
Well, what I'm going to say is I think that Netflix has peaked already and has nowhere to go but down, because Amazon is going to gradually become stronger and better. We're seeing them make big plays financially with the Lord of the Rings rights. We're seeing Hulu start to make big plays. Handmaid's Tale is very recent. They're undoubtedly going to come out with new original content. And what that's doing is it's affecting the share of the market that Netflix has. HBO has a very specific feel to their content. It's all very high-end, very Oscar caliber, if Oscars could go to TV. That type of high-end stuff. Like, when you watch Game of Thrones, you feel how different that is than a Netflix show. The Sopranos, all of the... Westworld is a good example. It just feels so much more cinematic. House of Cards is, and maybe The Queen on Netflix is a very cinematic feeling show. Those are the only 2 shows that I could picture being on HBO. Everything else feels just a little bit cheaper, a little bit more shallow. They don't capture that Emmy-level award stuff that HBO has been consistently doing.
I mean, I can see your point, and I can definitely agree with that to an extent. I mean, HBO has definitely been in the game a lot longer and it's worked out this system just a little bit. I think Amazon is by far the biggest sleeper in this.
I think you're right about that. Let's make it. I'm going to use this clip we're about to do. Amazon's going to wreck everyone else eventually.
Will probably be dead, but
no,
when it happens,
mouth something and I'll dub over the correct date. And then we can show it and be like, fuck you.
Bam!
All right.
And if we're wrong, we'll edit it to be right.
So
Bam!
let us know if you're an HBO, Netflix, or if you think one of these other streaming services is actually better in the comments, and consider subscribing.
Please, for the love of God, we love you.
Finish.
What are you, fucking 12?
Go, you pushed it on me first. All right. Finish the video.